Welcome to Riverdale After Dark, a podcast about the CW's Riverdale. Just wants to go to a party in the woods with you. No big deal. I'm Alex.
Because when you walk into the woods, you're there for one reason, humping. And if you have another reason, you just might end up dead. I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we are going to be talking about Chapter 70, the Ides of March, where it all goes down, mostly, though some stuff gets left behind.
Some stuff goes down.
Some stuff goes down. Not all of the stuff. A couple of the things go down. This is obviously going to be a big episode. This is a highly anticipated episode because, just to spoil it, we're finally looping to the night that Jughead Jones 100% definitely dies.
Yeah.
Dead forever. R.I.P. Jughead. But before we get into that...
Put him in a body bag. Show me the corpse.
They literally showed you the corpse.
That's what I'm talking about. That's a dead person.
Oh,
It's not a dead person.
He's a dead person.
Archie wasn't even touching him when he declared him dead.
He was, listen, you could test a pulse from up to 5 inches away.
Yeah.
All right, buddy?
I'm like, Pete's dead right now. And I can't believe you keep somehow shocking, like defibrillating yourself back to life.
That's the thing. Pete always comes back for one more scare. Before we get into this, though, I think there's something we need to apologize about, guys.
Yes.
I think we got to lay this out here. We got to be upfront about this. This is important to be honest at the front of the podcast.
Yeah.
And we fucked up. Like, as a podcast, we fucked up, the three of us.
And
all right?
Oh, wow. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, this is last episode. There was something that we talked about, an important subject that we discussed that unfortunately we just did the wrong thing with, and we did not notice that Ted Bishop was the Punisher. And I'm sorry about it. I'm sorry, all right? I'm laying it out there. I'm sorry. Pete?
No, we're all to blame here.
I didn't want to turn to you, but you are our number one Punisher fan.
Right.
How are you feeling right now?
It's so obvious now.
Sure.
Like a lot of things.
Yeah. It's
Like, it was a treasure map. Or like,
what?
or like, I guess that fruit was plastic.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now I see what
Do you know
you're
what I'm talking about? Like mistakes we always make.
So in the last episode, they introduced a character named Ted Bishop. He kicked the shit out of Archie. We taped the episode a little early, and I think right after we were done taping, I got out. I was like, let me just check my phone. And good old Roberto Aguirre-Sacasa, the showrunner of the show, was like, we've always wanted to adapt Archie meets Punisher. This guy's the Punisher. Here's his skull shirt. And I was like, shit.
We missed it.
We really did miss it, and we've been comic book fans for a while. It is very obvious when you look at it, but I felt even dumber when I listened back to the episode, and we spent, I want to say conservatively, 5 solid minutes talking about Ted Bishop and how he was like an insane superhero straight out of a comic book character.
Yeah, we were like, that guy is Captain America. We couldn't have been closer to success while being totally wrong.
Yeah. There's one other thing that I did want to talk about here right at the top that I'm going to open up before we get into Ides of March, and obviously this is a real big episode to talk about. But we did a poll on @RiverdaleDark on our Twitter that I was curious to get your guys' feedback about. The poll was, specifically I said, or whoever runs the Twitter, I don't really know, if you had to pick one of the below first and middle names for your firstborn child, which one would you choose? And here were the 4 choices, all right?
Why are you doing this poll?
Just like for social engagement. So the first choice for a child's name, first name, last name, was Barchie Rainkiss. The second choice was Bughead Wedding. The third choice was Varchie Forever. The fourth choice was Curdle Bear Jr., which... Yes. I got to be honest, not exactly a first and middle name, but, still works.
Yeah, Junior's weird to throw in there.
Sure, but I would assume it would be like Curdle Bear Tyler Jr.
Right, you throw a last name in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say I'm from a long line of Curdle Bears, so it makes a lot of sense.
And I will mention for the poll, we got over 3,000 votes on the poll. Bughead Wedding won with 58% of the polling to 22% for Barchi Rainkiss, 10% each for Varchi Forever and Curdle Bear Jr. I feel like people missed the point of this poll. I got to be honest. Like, I don't think they were thinking this through.
There's going to be a lot of kids with those names coming up.
Bughead Wedding Zalbin.
Yeah, exactly. You have to add your last name.
Right. That's the thing that I don't think they're thinking about. If you were going to take one of those, Pete, which one would you name your firstborn child?
None of those. Those are awful names.
Right, but if you had to choose one,
You have to choose between.
You
That's
have
what,
Bughead Wedding.
you would choose Bughead Wedding LePage.
Yep.
your kid would be named Bug.
Good old Bughead.
Good old Buggy.
Really?
This is a stupid fucking thing, and I don't
just
know why there's so much
feel
shit
like,
to get into
I
in
feel
this
like
episode.
people weren't thinking about it. That's what I wanted to bring up on the
Congrats.
podcast.
Obviously,
doing
Barchi Rainkiss would be my beautiful baby girl. Barch.
In all honesty, taking this 100% seriously, I feel like Curdle Bear Jr. is the only legitimate answer
That's
for it.
clearly a puppy name.
Sure.
That's not a human name. Barchi Rainkiss makes total sense.
I mean, as I am barren,
Why?
Yeah.
I can only adopt
I
dogs.
can't believe you. I can't believe you're talking about that.
I
on the
think
podcast.
about it as.
Can we
It's also
Please.
not called barren for a man. Just so you know.
Can we please get on to...
I mean, technically, I am barren. I cannot bear children.
I guess that's technically true.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing up some random thing you did on Twitter. Can
Your
we get
Curdle-
into
No,
this?
whoever did it on Twitter, I don't know who did it.
Ironically, Pete did this poll.
Yes,
You're Curdle Baron Jr. Actually.
Yeah,
I believe.
Pete runs the at Riverdale Dark
Everybody
Twitter.
knows that's not true.
Everybody knows that's true. Should we talk about this episode?
Can we please, for the love of God?
Pete barely runs his Twitter.
All right. I'm sorry for belaboring this, Pete. Let's get right into it with a recap of what's happened so far on Riverdale. So,
Yeah.
kicking it off at the beginning, there is a town called Riverdale. It is established on a planet called Earth. Earth orbits around the sun.
I don't know if we've actually established that Riverdale is on Earth.
True.
So let's keep it to the facts, Alex. Riverdale could be on what's the show on Netflix where the town of teens moves
Society?
It could be right up the street from
I think they're all,
Riverdale.
well, no, they're not on Earth, right? Because
No, they're on a
What the
separate.
fuck is happening?
We can talk our
we're
society
talking about
theory.
the society.
Come on.
The society is
Let's
like
go.
a good neighbor, like a TV neighbor of Riverdale.
They slagged off Riverdale in their first or second
Fucked up.
episode.
But
They
I
were
will say-
like,
Wake me up
what do
when you
think
guys
this
start
is,
talking about
Riverdale?
Riverdale.
I do like that show.
We are talking about Riverdale.
You're not.
Riverdale. Riverdale is what happens when I drink too much. So let's talk through what's going on in everybody's storylines. First of all, there's Archie Andrews. He is managing several businesses, including his father Fred's construction company, also a gym called the El Royale, and he has a girlfriend named Veronica. In addition, he is failing out of school because of an ill-timed bear attack last year. I think that's fair to say. Right?
Yeah, well, he missed the SATs.
I don't know if you blame the bear attack. There was
They
so much
certainly
crazy.
did seem to blame the bear attack when it happened to him.
I also think I haven't seen a lot of homework scenes with old Arch.
Sure. That's true. We do get those this episode, which is nice.
Yeah.
I do like a good homework scene. So that's what's going on with Archie Andrews. Over to Veronica, his girlfriend, who we mentioned. She is starting up her own rum business. It is a maple-based rum business that she's collaborating with Cheryl Blossom on. They have opened up a club called the Maple Club, or rather taken over a club called the Maple Club that is working as a speakeasy. It is a secondary business after La Bonne Nuit, which is her dance club, which is under her third business, Pop's Chocolate Shop, which is above La Bonne Nuit. La Bonne Nuit is a cover for the rum club. I guess it's four businesses.
And to be fair, the Bon Nuit is also a speakeasy, so this is like a second degree of speakeasy, like an even more hidden bar.
It's like an after party.
Exactly, which I know we all
tell
know
you
all
what,
about.
After all the pitching and talking she does about the rum, I really want to try some of this rum with the maple.
Wow, she
That's-
sold you.
she got you.
All you got to
You're-
do, dude, put on a blonde wig and put yourself out there.
You're a real Red Raven guy, huh?
Yeah, I would love a bottle of Red Raven.
Old Pete Mosa over here.
Yeah. Pete Mosa?
I don't know. I was trying to think of an undercover name for him.
Oh, nice. I thought you meant he drinks mimosas.
But he calls them Pete Moses because he dips one finger in it, just his pinky.
A Pete Mimosa is just a big glass of rum, right?
Yeah.
What a bartender.
So that's what's going on with Veronica. The other thing that's going on with her is she got the awful news that her father, Hiram Lodge, has a degenerative nerve disease, a neuromuscular disease that is going to slowly wear away at his motor functions before it ends his life. They don't know how long it's going to be, but she is very distraught about that. She is also sparring with her half-sister, Hermosa, who usually lives in Miami, but not this episode.
And we haven't seen her in a long time.
Yes. What has she been up to?
What has she been up to? How many businesses has she launched?
Well, she also runs nightclubs in Miami, so one would presume also she has a secret Maple-based club.
Exactly. She has a speakeasy beneath the diner as well.
Now, over to Betty. A couple of things going on with Betty, but the main thing you need to know this episode is she found out a couple of episodes back that she had been implanted with a secret trigger word by the Farm, an evil cult that took over most of Riverdale last season, where if you say tangerine 3 times, she goes into a fugue state and attacks her Dark Betty personality, or at least whatever she thinks is her Dark Betty personality. That was implanted to her by the leader of the cult, Edgar Evernever, but she was also manipulated by Evelyn Evernever, his daughter-wife.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, Betty is dating Jughead, and Betty and Jughead like to have sex, as people in love often do.
Why would you bring
a lot
that
of the
up?
I
characters.
bring that up because it's actually literally an important plot point.
It's a
in this
plot
episode.
point.
Well,
It's
yeah.
a plot point. It should be a plot point in all of our lives.
Yes, it is, except for mine, because I am, of course, barren.
No, you can still have sex.
Nope. I don't
Alex, you
think
have
so.
a lot of misguided ideas
I
here.
teach health class at the local high school, so I think I know what's
should
going on.
not be allowed
Now,
to do it.
Jughead is attending Stonewall Prep, which is an elite preparatory school. He is going to an English class there that only has 4 students that is being taught by a guy named Mr. DuPont. The 4 students are Donna Sweet and Brett Weston Wallace, both of whom really have it out for Jughead. And there are 2 other students, Joan and Jonathan, who basically seem flunkies for Brett and Donna at
They
this point.
seem like flunkies.
Mr. DuPont also doesn't seem to like Jughead very much. However, he has... Not at all. He has, however, hired Jughead to work writing the Baxter Brothers novels. The Baxter Brothers novels are Hardy Boys-esque novels that have been written by a series of ghostwriters. Jughead is the latest of them. They've basically been rejecting all of his stories and not really liking them, even though he is directly writing stories based on his life. He also got into Yale based on a short story that he wrote. And we should also mention that the Baxter Brothers novels are run by a shadowy cabal.
Yes, like all children's books.
Right. Well, this is true. My mom writes children's books, and I know about this very well.
Yeah, and she's a member of the cult from the Tom Cruise Nicole Kidman movie.
Eyes Wide Shut?
Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for
Fidelio.
making me think about that.
Yeah, got him.
The only other thing that you should probably know about that storyline is he is also part of a secret society called the Quill and Skull that he actively joined, though it has not panned out very well for him. And last but not least, Cheryl, as we mentioned, is working at the Maple Club. Toni, her girlfriend, is also working at the Maple Club. And that is most of the stuff that you need to know.
Mr. Honey's the principal, and he's a jerk.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
really
there's
is.
other characters. There's Tom Keller, who has been struggling with whatever job that he's had. We find out more about that this episode. And we should also mention a big supporter of our show, Vic. Vic, the dude who works at Andrews Construction, shows up this episode.
Yeah.
So that's very fun. Good for Vic. Very excited
Vic.
for him. All right. Let's get into it. Justin, you want to walk us through this
Sure.
episode?
We kick off the episode with Archie being Archie. Archie being a nice guy.
4:45 in the morning.
A little montage of him being a good man. And then he goes to meet with Mr. Honey, and he's like, hey, can I still apply to college? And Mr. Honey's like, fuck no.
Yeah.
And like
you aren't
that's,
going to make it through high school.
yeah, and Mr. Honey could have mentioned some of this stuff a little bit sooner.
I don't know. Mr. Honey, as you said, is a total dick.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that Archie's like, can I just walk with my friends? And he says, no, that wouldn't be appropriate.
I mean, to be fair, the whole point of graduating is the walk.
Right.
Like, you have to graduate to walk. I don't want to be on Honey's side.
No, but they
Are you the Mr. Honey of this podcast?
Yeah.
My name is Curdle Honey Jr.
Like at school, you get some people just don't get actual diploma in there. It's blank inside, but they still give them something so they get to walk.
Oh,
no,
really?
no. That's written in lemon juice. You got to put it over a flame to show it off.
you can still walk with your friends. He's being a fucking dick.
Oh, really?
Of course. Yes, Mr. Honey is being a dick about it, as he is about most things. One little note that I did really like is he left a Post-it note that said, "Love you, Mom," on the
Yeah.
coffee
On the
machine.
coffee, yeah.
Very cute.
Very cute.
I was surprised at the donut choice that he made.
What do you mean? What did he have?
He had the fancy donut instead of like a plain glazed
Cruller?
He had the one that's like a
Spinny?
yeah, it's like
Rotini,
a
like
it's
the rotini of donuts?
yeah. And I
Oh,
was just
a
like,
bear claw?
no, motherfucker! I know
I
what
think
a
it was
Blair
a
claw
cruller,
is.
right?
It looks like a scrunchie, but it's a
Yeah, it's a cruller. I've said it several times. It's called the cruller.
I don't know.
Do
what
not
it's called.
challenge Alex about donuts. This dude fucking knows donuts.
I already said cruller is the rotini of donuts.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, that's the hottest take in donut culture. That is it's a blazing hot take.
I'll tell you what,
the donut culture, donut Twitter's gonna light up over there.
I walked into Voodoo Donuts the other day. I shouted this, and they
and
said,
you're the norm there, right? They're like, Alex.
yeah. I walked in, shouted that, and they were like, "Free donuts for life."
Wow.
Hot take, love it.
I mean, there are so many better donuts than that one.
Then Voodoo Donuts?
No, I love Voodoo donuts.
Oh, then a
Crullers.
cruller.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll have a cruller sometimes.
Yeah, you eat every donut in front of your face. Throw your favorite donut out there, Pete. Right
Apple fritter.
Oh my God! What are you, Amish?
Yeah.
You have a whole donut world to explore involving sugar.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on your side because cruller is like, sure, if a cruller's there, I'll have it. But until
crullers
you said
last.
apple fritter, and then you lost me completely.
Apple fritter? It's not even
You
a
are not
donut.
allowed to criticize a cruller if your favorite donut is an apple fritter.
Hey, man. I mean,
An apple fritter is like a calzone for a country bumpkin.
it depends on where you're getting the donut. It depends on.
Just real quick, I want to clarify for the podcast, the only metaphors we have for donuts are Italian food.
I love a good bow tie.
Nice.
Boston cream is great.
Sure.
What a classic donut. Man.
Krispy Kreme, though, for me is the top of the top.
Ooh, like a hot Krispy Kreme.
Oh,
Yeah. See that light go out? You're like, habada, habada, habada.
yeah.
Tongue rolling out of your mouth.
I just
All right,
like a
hard
Stop
pop it up.
sidetracking me. Let's go.
Eyes going awooga, awooga.
I just like a pine cone rolled in honey. That's me, right above an apple fritter.
Are you a squirrel?
Maple. I like a maple glaze.
Maple glaze?
Maple glaze.
Maple glaze.
That's right.
Are you from Canada?
I'm bona fide upstate New York, motherfucker. You take that bullshit Rochester shit with an apple fritter, you can take that right out of here.
Dude, first off, fuck you for saying that, all right? There's a lot of great homemade donuts made in Rochester that are fantastic.
Great. I like, as we've already established, I like all donuts. Let's move on and keep talking about this. Immediately after this, we get the Veronica scene.
Now, I want to throw out there, like, this episode, everyone is behaving oddly.
Really?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Justin. It's insane to me how off the mark everybody is in this episode.
Really?
I thought so. I mean, Archie, I guess, is probably the closest to Archie.
Right,
Archie's being Archie. But
Veronica's way off. Betty's way
Veronica
off.
comes out swinging against
Jughead's
Hiram.
way off.
Are you saying purposely so, or you just felt like they weren't?
In some cases purposely, but some cases like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it felt like everyone was a little bit. I mean, I'm saying it's based on the events of the show. Everyone was a little bit off their game.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because I really like this episode a lot.
No way.
Like, I thought there was a lot of good tension throughout.
Yeah.
There was strong emotion throughout. There were things like I appreciated the scene coming straight out. Hiram picking up the coffee or tea or whatever he was drinking and shaking. We had a question in the last episode, knowing what we know about Hiram. Is he faking or not? And to me, in that moment, it felt like, oh, no, he is not faking. They are legit going for this storyline. And obviously, that's bad
Yeah.
in the world, but I like the fact that they are actually trying that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes. Because I want to agree with you and believe that he's not faking it.
I think he is.
You think he's faking it?
The motherfucker's evil as fuck, man.
I do think it's weird the way his storyline with Archie unfolded here.
Yeah. Like what?
Oh,
like
you think he's going for Archie again? That's his plan?
It's weird. That's what I'm saying. Everyone was being a little. It's like a story with an unreliable narrator. Like this whole episode, I was like, who is being real? It felt like in so many episodes of Riverdale, we are with the characters and we know what's up. And in this episode, it felt like art. And this isn't a huge criticism because I do think it puts the show back on Archie being the center. He's the only one who we can trust. And everyone else is like, what exactly is happening here?
Yeah.
Right.
We're not in their heads. We're observing them. And I think that's a cool place to be for
and
the
at
show.
some points, it's very frustrating during the episode.
Well, I will say, I mean, obviously we're going to see what happens, and there's going to be, I believe, a break after this episode, and then 2 weeks we'll pick up with How to Get Away with Murder. But it's possible, to your point, that they're still leaving a lot of information out.
I think so.
Yeah.
And wait, real quick, do you think they're seriously going to tell us how to get away with murder?
Yeah, it's just going to be the writers sitting down and be like, hey, guys, we've killed a bunch of people.
Hey, we get a lot of letters. One from Pete LePage here. I'm trying to murder a friend of mine. How do I get away with it?
Yeah.
Hi, Riverdale Writers Room here. Normally we do a show called Riverdale. Instead, we're going to answer these crazy letters from Pete.
Normally, we do a show about how people get caught committing murder by teens. Today, I'm going to flip the script and tell not a teen, an older than teen man how to get away with murder.
The other thing I do want to mention that I thought right up top framed this episode really well is we know it's called the Ides of March, but they frame it as the week before March 15th. Before the Ides of March, which are happening on Friday. So we get these chirons of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that give it this very clear countdown that builds up the tension as we go.
Yeah.
Because having watched all these episodes, we know we are getting very close to the point when Jughead has been found, quote unquote, dead.
Yep.
And this countdown gives us that tension, gives us that ramp up to that point, which I thought was great.
Very useful, yeah. But to get back into it, so Veronica, I think we can say she's off her game because she's upset about her father.
Yep.
So she doesn't know how to speak to him, it seems like. Then we see her coming in strong to Archie.
Yeah, she storms off and then storms in the music room and straight up gets it on.
Yeah, who he's back playing guitar,
Yeah.
like the real Archie we've always known.
That is not a lot of oversight in that school, is all I want to say about that.
Yeah, the school trusts the students to be alone in rooms.
Well, I think there's like, if you're going to have sex with a bunker, which is underground, vulnerable to earthquakes, why not have sex in a place that's safe?
But that music room, he used to get it on with the music teacher in there.
Yeah, a lot of old memories there.
Yeah, that was not great.
I was
Stay out of
surprised
the
he didn't
music room.
stop her. It was like, no, we can't get it on in this room. I used to illegally have sex with somebody in this room.
Right. Remember where that lady eventually... No, she didn't get garroted there. She got garroted in her own home. In
yes.
her own home.
In the neighboring town of, I want to say Greendale.
Yeah, I think it was Greendale, actually. There's two great lines that happen here. She goes into the music room. She sits down on Archie, makes out with him. He says, "Good morning to you, too." And she says, "Less talking, more touching, Andrews."
Which was great. I wanted Archie to be like, "Hey, what are you doing here? I haven't seen you in like 9 episodes. Hey, we're going to have sex?
Who are you? What's your name?
She does say afterwards, like, I haven't been around because she went to New York to visit, which was nice.
She also
seeing her
did
in
like
New York.
50 other things.
Right. She went to New York for 2 days.
Yeah, I saw her in Times Square.
You did?
Yeah.
Really? She
Yeah.
was tussling with one of those elbows.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. She does not put up with that Elmo shit. She's
You
actually
should-
starting a rival Elmo business with a slightly different recipe.
I also think across the board, Veronica was very well written this episode.
Yeah.
Like it almost felt like season 1 Veronica with the amount of cultural quips she was throwing out.
Yeah.
And lines like right after they're done doing it, and he zips up her dress. She says, "Thanks for the early morning delight, lover."
Yeah.
Which like feels like a very early Veronica line in a nice way.
Spicier Veronica.
Yeah, exactly.
She's going through it.
Yeah.
So then we jump over to DuPont and Jughead, who DuPont kicks his professor who is just straight up mean all the time. But Jughead still keeps coming back to him like, hey, Prof, what's up with my book deal? And he's like, you're out of Quill and Skull and you're out of your Baxter Brothers book deal unless you can write another version of the story in 1 week.
And then Jughead's like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long can it take to write a book like that, honestly?
I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book right now.
Yeah. While you're doing the podcast?
Yes.
How much are you through?
I'm like 900 pages. It's very long.
Oh, my God.
You think it's too long?
For a Hardy Boys-esque novel? Yeah.
Well, but it's not just Hardy Boys. It's two brothers. It's going to be
It's also
three
his
brothers.
first draft.
Oh, yeah. You do need more
He's
room.
going to chop it down.
Right,
It's his
exactly.
first-
You're right.
Alex, it's a first draft.
No,
Get
that's
off my
true.
case.
Who are you, George R.R. Martin?
Yeah, I'm the opposite because I get shit done.
Ooh, man. Do you
See?
think he's on the sly writing Baxter Brothers books? That would be amazing.
Oh, we should say George R.R. Martin, the reason he hasn't finished the book is he's our engineer. He's here in the room with us, and he is a great podcast engineer.
Yeah. Thank you so much, George. And thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'll finish the books right after this.
The winds of winter.
That's the only thing. He's a Pokemon, basically.
He is basically.
So he
then
says, watch me, and storms out.
Yeah, Jughead says, the Ides of March, the title.
Yeah.
He's the titular line.
Yeah. I was a little upset that he didn't say, I'm going to write up to chapter 70 by the Ides of March.
Yeah.
That would be
Where
nice.
the murder happens.
Which was great, though, because we've been teased with this Woods murder. The fact that they were like early on in the episode, Party of the Woods, I was like, oh, thank God, we're finally going to get to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank God we're going to finally see Jughead die.
Yep.
Dream come true.
Yes.
Now, it is interesting that we haven't seen with Jughead and Betty here, and he's like, I'm fucked, and Betty's like, we'll figure it out. And it feels like Jughead, it's been happening for a couple episodes, has been sort of taking advantage of Betty. And
You think so?
Like relying on her to pull his ass out of the fire, but not really being a good boyfriend.
I
That's
kind
what I
of
think.
agree with that, but also what's weird is Jughead has been like, no, I'm out of here. I'm not going to deal with these guys, but then keeps going back. It's weird, this like, seems like he's better than all these people, but he keeps going back and trying to fit in.
I don't necessarily see the Jughead Betty thing. Like, I kind of understand what you're saying, but I feel like it's mostly Jughead is spiraling out of control. He is
That's what I mean.
completely out of his element here.
Yeah.
And I think Betty is just there being even and supportive because that's what she needs to be. But I think
that's resulted in him being very selfish.
Yes. Well, the big problem that I have that he's been doing and it's been consistent, is Betty's like, why don't you write about what's happening to you right now?
Yeah.
Which is the thing they've been doing all along, where they've just been running into places and jacuzzing people of things.
Yeah.
And it's not a smart strategy.
No.
Yeah, it's something Archie would do, not them. and
Yes,
it's
it is.
upsetting.
It's very Archie.
And I
It's
do
like
think
a show full of Archies. It's Archies all the way down, man.
And that's why I say it doesn't feel right. I don't like the way Betty is acting, and like I don't like the way that Jughead is acting, and it just doesn't make sense for who they are. So it's a little upsetting in this episode.
Yeah, and that's why they do feel, again, very much off their game.
Well, agree to disagree. But he does decide to write the preschool thriller, starting with, we should mention, Moose was in the school but left. So they're going to start with that point, with Moose arriving at the school, that character. And then we get a quick scene of Hiram visiting Archie at El Royale, as we mentioned.
No more
Because
weakness.
Hiram wants to work out with a real trainer, Archie.
Yeah, it was so weird. He's just going to show up and taunt Archie by benching.
He's not taunting, though. He's providing him with a father figure.
Because he's jacked?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really weird that he just shows up. And then Archie was like, hey, can I have business advice from you? Archie, what are you doing? This man has literally tried to kill you.
I think Mark Consuelos' take on this, it is a much softer, more vulnerable Hiram than we've seen before.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I think if that's true, then that's great. I want to see, again, it feels like information is being withheld from us. If he truly is like, I need to change my life, then this scene is like fatherly and it means something.
Yeah.
But it also is very odd that he's like, I'm dying. I got to go hang out with Archie.
Yeah.
Sure.
In his box. Because
But
even
maybe he
Archie's like,
knows that
don't you work
Veronica-
out like at 9 other gyms? And he's like, I wanted to come
Don't
here
you-
to your factory with a boxing ring in the center.
Yeah.
Don't you own a prison and can like work out anywhere? Like what?
I don't know if he'd want to work out in a prison.
Well, we've literally seen him doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lock me up. It's time to get jacked.
I'm too jacked to be out here in the real world.
Well, anyway, and then over to Tuesday, where Jughead reads his book for the fellow students, and Mr. DuPont shuts him down.
Yeah, of course. He's reading his book to his enemies.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like me reading my book aloud
It's just-
to...
It's just so
Wait,
upsetting.
who are you? Which one of us were you gesturing to just now?
I just made a general gesture.
No, he was gesturing to me.
But you
He was
gestured in the
gesturing.
direction of both of us.
Yeah, but I guess you have to choose who
No,
the real
no,
enemy is.
it was to me.
Is
I'll
it
take
me
it.
or is it Pete or is it both of us?
Let's see. You have to read my book.
It's me. It's fine. It's me. Let's move on.
When are we?
No, but you guys
when are
are-
we inviting him to the woods?
You guys are in the book. It's the three brothers in my book.
Sure,
Are named Dustin.
sure.
Yeah.
Go on. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
What are the other names?
What's another name?
Just literally any
name
other
one
name.
more name.
There's Balix
Okay, there we go.
and Deet.
Oh, Deet. Good old
I was
Deet.
wondering what you were going to do.
Deet Detaj.
You could have gone like Pat. You know, that would have been.
Oh, okay.
Well, why don't you write your own fucking
Yeah, write your
book?
own book.
Genius.
You could have gone Alec.
Hey,
Yeah,
George,
it was-
how hard is it to write a book? Pretty hard.
Very difficult.
Okay, so
We should also
anyways,
mention we have 2 George R. Martins.
Well, there's one R and there's another R.
so then we see,
Good old George Railroad Martin.
so we see Cheryl on the phone.
I love when you try to drag us along in the plot. You're like, okay, then there's this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So Cheryl's
Do you know
on
what?
the
I
phone.
honestly wish, Pete, you were a character on Riverdale because I feel like you go around and be like, "Come on, we got this."
Well, I would-
Come on,
How could
stop
that show?
talking. Just go into the woods.
How could that show move any faster?
Yeah, that's true.
Even
That
with
show-
Pete there being like,
Yeah, that's
all right,
true.
we got it, Betty. Keep it going.
I would never say that to Betty.
Okay.
Anyways, we see Cheryl and Tony.
So, do
working
you want
the phones.
to? It's hard to break up this episode because it all amounts with most of the characters together. But we can do the Tony stuff, probably.
That's
the Tony
true.
and
Okay.
the Shoney Showpass stuff.
Let's do it. So Tony, Cheryl's like, "Hey, Tony, why don't you go meet this new person, charm them?"
Love
I'm a
their
little-
office, first of all.
Yeah.
Love their office. Cheryl sitting behind a big desk, taking the calls.
Old-timey
finding out
phone.
there's an old-timey phone, finding out there's a high roller at the club. Tony's going to scrutinize her, gives a little smoocheroo. Very cute scene.
Yeah, I personally, it makes me uncomfortable when someone's dating someone and then they say to the other one, "Hey, go charm that person." I'm like, what are you doing? Why would you
She
say?
trusts her.
Yeah,
She trusts her completely.
I'm glad she
Yes.
does.
What are you saying?
Just feels a little weird. And so then Tony meets with somebody who's clearly got a fake blonde wig on from the get. That was just
Well,
like,
I love this. I love this because this is Hermosa wearing a fake blonde wig, just like Veronica does when she does her stupid Monica Posh impersonation.
Works
Not this
every
guy.
time.
Works. It does work every time.
That's
I
what I'm
call it
talking about.
stupid. Like on the outside, I'm like, everybody knows that's Veronica, yet nobody knows that's Veronica.
And I will say, like at first, I was like, "That's weird." Then I was like, "Oh, that's Hermosa."
Yeah.
In the moment, but I was like, the way they shot it was nice because it was like really pink and dark, and there was hard
Yes.
to tell. So I think it worked more than
Also, her code name is Rosa.
yeah. Rosa, my name's Rosa.
Yeah,
Mosa, my name is
would have loved it.
Pete Mosa.
I would have loved it if she did something like Harmonica Posh or something
Yeah.
like that. That would have been
that's good.
excellent.
I
I made that joke on Twitter, so I've had it locked in.
Oh, cool,
Don't
cool.
you recycle?
Yeah,
not here.
please
Not here with
sorry.
us.
I
People-
felt bad about it when I said it. I
okay,
felt bad
thank you
about
for
it. That's why
owning
I was,
it because there's nothing worse than that.
And
Do
then
you guys want to hear some other of my tweets?
And
No.
then
Never.
Balix tried to slough off a tweet on Deet and Dustin. Right, what you know. Right, what you know.
And Dustin. I like it. We're both D's.
Yeah, we're brothers.
Yeah, the D brothers.
Brothers have the D brothers. Yeah. My brother's named John, J name. I have another brother named Max.
No.
No, that really ruined it.
He's much younger now.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, she goes off, meets Hermosa in a wig. Tony says she wants to meet Hermosa at Le Bon Nuit. Was that what I wrote down? Does that?
Yeah, and they go dancing.
Yeah,
and,
they
do. Tony's like into it. What is happening? Everyone on Riverdale is horny this episode.
They are. This is a very horny episode.
Very sexually charged episode.
Yeah, and they shot it that way. Like, I feel like every 5 to 10 episodes or so, there is a Tony and Cheryl up in the club thing where it's always Cheryl walking down the stairs every single time. And she's like, I see Tony. And either I'm mad about it or I'm happy about it.
Yeah. This time it was a mix. It was
and then they have like a sexy 3-way dance.
Yep.
Invite Hermosa back to a hotel room at the Maple Club.
Yep.
She gets there, and of course, Veronica's there.
Veronica, I liked how Veronica got a note, and she was like, the trap is set.
Yes.
Yes.
I like that they were not acting like idiots. I like that Cheryl was like, I saw a newspaper with your face on it. I know exactly who you are.
Yes.
What are you doing?
That was good. That was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. And then Veronica confronts her. And the interesting thing I think about the scene is that the main thing Veronica is upset about is that Hiram told Hermosa first.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know why. I mean, I can understand why she's upset about that because she feels like this is a new daughter and like she should be closer. But her and her dad have been fighting for a long time now, and they've been fighting each other tooth and nail, and it's been nasty. So, like, part of me is like, are you really that surprised?
Well, but I think that's what she sort of figures out this episode is that her relationship with Hiram is combative. It is they are rivals, and Hiram, I think they both like that. And so what she realizes what she's been sort of removing herself from relating to him and like changing her name this whole season. And what she finds out this episode is that they need each other, or specifically he's sick, so he needs her to be combative.
Yeah.
And we get the scene later where she's does a presentation at breakfast with her presentation glasses on and talks about how Red Raven is going big and Hiram is very, very mad about his daughter's business for some reason.
I wrote this down because I love this line too. She walks in and says, "Happy Friday, you soul-sucking vampires."
Yeah.
Great line.
She also says snap a trap earlier when so I wanted to make sure.
Good stuff across the board.
But and then Hiram gets upset and is like, "You've awakened the dragon."
So intense.
Wow. We've never heard him talk about himself in dragon form.
Yeah.
That's
we haven't
intense.
seen it. George has actually been side writing on Riverdale, our engineer, and I think he's finally got those dragons in there.
Yeah, congrats, George.
Yeah.
All right, come on.
The other thing that I was going to ask you guys about here, and I don't think this matters too much because, plot consistency and whatever, but does this contradict what Mrs. Burble told Veronica that they were in a dance of death?
Ooh.
I think no. I think it serves that.
Right.
I think
that Veronica knows he is going to die at some point, so she is using that to amp him up.
Well, and I think also, like, Veronica thinks that this is the best way to relate to her father, but the best way to relate would be to be nice and be like, we love
that's
each
not
other.
working.
Yeah, it doesn't respond to that.
She didn't do it for very long.
Right.
She didn't, they both need to do that.
Yeah.
And they both need to, Hiram needs to own up to his vulnerabilities.
I mean, they should sit down, go through some therapy. He should be arrested for all of his crimes. There's a lot that should happen, but she's just trying to be like, if I wake this part of him, he'll have energy.
The dragon part.
Yeah, and he'll be able to kind of
Dragon
fight
energy.
this and be able to fight
Knights,
back.
he'll be able to fight knights because he's a dragon.
And kidnap princesses. But I do think he... and he's hiding from his family and going to Archie.
Yeah.
Pete, did I just awaken the dragon in you? Is that what's happening?
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Great. So let's maybe jump over to Archie to cover his stuff. He's having some business.
Or we could talk about Veronica because we kind of...
okay.
cool. Veronica and Archie are obviously intersecting, but just to touch on the other stuff that happens in Veronica's storyline, she's spinning out of control.
She wants to party.
She wants to party. Dancing at the club, also very horny.
And Archie recognizes that, and he was like, hey, you're not being yourself. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, she's
Tell
got
me the
booze at
truth."
school, which Archie takes the fall for.
Oh, dude, Archie took the fall for that.
Exactly, and it's crazy that these kids have booze, despite the fact that they own several drinking establishments.
Yeah. Also, like, what a nice thing for Archie to do, to be like, you know what, shitty principal, that's my flask, because I'm already flunking out, so I might as well take the fall for this too.
I love the character choice of having Veronica very slowly and silently reach out her hand and hold Archie's hand when that was happening.
Cool.
That was very sweet.
Very sweet.
Very touching.
Yeah. And then, of course, she goes to bone him again in the science lab while he's studying. And we get another mention of Dr. Beaker, the up-and-coming character on Riverdale that I'm very excited to find out more about.
Dr. Beaker is my new favorite character.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Number one?
Number one.
Really, you'll be interested to find out that he's going to take a mask off and reveal that he is Chick, the true hero of Riverdale. Oh. His name is Chick Beaker.
Fucking way.
His name is Chick Beaker.
My name is Chick Beaker.
He's also a Muppet.
Yeah. Oh.
I think it's interesting how hard Veronica wants to party, but she doesn't care that Archie is failing out of school and will not see her.
Right. Well, I think that's part of it as well, right? Like, as she talks about, she says, I don't want to think about the future. I don't want to think about what's happening. She was, like we talked about, there was this very pregnant pause when she was talking to Katie Keene in New York about what was going to happen after high school with her and Archie.
Yeah.
And she is avoiding that discussion.
Yeah.
Like, and I think she is not thinking about what's going to happen to Archie and doesn't want to think about what's happening to Archie. She just wants to have a good time with him. And if that ultimately damages him, that's okay. I mean, this is a very grim way of looking at it, but it's possible she might be thinking or not thinking, sort of unconsciously realizing that if she wrecks things for him, he is more open to be with her forever.
Yeah.
What?
If he doesn't go to college somewhere else, he can follow her to Barnard or wherever.
But and maybe
She
that's
said,
true.
though, he's not leaving Riverdale. He's
No, I know.
entrenched
I'm
in
saying,
Riverdale.
these feel like actually very realistic emotions to me, in that most emotions do not make sense.
Okay.
But I also think their plans are all short term. Like, none of them are like, we're in this for life.
Yeah.
You don't hear. I would think Archie would be like,
She hasn't said Endgame.
She hasn't said Endgame in episodes.
Exactly. It's more like Friend Game than Endgame.
Oh.
Man.
All right.
End comma game.
Yeah. End this sex game with you.
Yeah, and I think that wraps up Veronica's storyline at this point.
Pretty much, they do have one more scene where they are in bed.
Oh, right. And she confesses that her father is dying. Mm-hmm. Love the fact that Archie brought up his own dad. I thought that was great. I'm glad. I was worried that they were going to blast by that.
Yeah.
But it was a clear emotional connection, and him talking about spend time with your father while he's alive. Mm-hmm. Great.
Yeah.
Great Archie moment, man. I thought that was super sweet of him.
He was real good this episode.
And then later, they were like, hey, do you want to go to a party in the woods? Betty just invited us. And she was like, or Archie was like, why would we go to the party with these guys? We hate these guys, which I was like, well, it's the smartest thing Archie's ever said. That's such a, it doesn't make sense to hang out with these people. Why is Jughead spending so much time with them? And then, Veronica's like, well, we can just fuck in the woods, so let's go.
Yeah.
Let's save all that stuff for the end. But I do think it's interesting Archie said that when he literally spent the whole episode hanging out with Hiram, the man he nearly killed.
Yeah.
He's like, we can't hang out with these losers. We're their enemies. He's like, but I'm very close friends with the man who tried to kill me.
I think, I think there's stuff missing that we're just not seeing here. Or at least I hope so. Let's jump back to talk about Archie's storyline.
Yep. He's best friends and business buddies with Hiram. We get a couple scenes of them working out together. And then the other sort of plot going on here is that Archie's going to sell the business that's been in his family for generations. He hires Sheriff Keller.
That was nice because he kind of screwed over Sheriff Keller. It was really nice that Archie went back and was like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a business. I want to pay you a very good salary. So that was...
I did like the acknowledgement of what's been going on with Tom Keller too.
Yeah.
That
He's like,
it felt like this episode was hitting on a lot of things that fans have wondered about for a while. Like Tom saying, I've bounced around to a bunch of jobs and don't have a lot of money. great. That's what's been going on with him. Not just he randomly shows up in places.
Yeah.
So it was good.
It was good. And then Archie can't sell the company. He
Can't
keeps the
do
company.
it.
Can't
Comes
do it.
down
sign
to
on the
that
dotted
last
line.
and he can't do it. Which
Poor
big
Vic.
sign. With.
Poor Vic.
But of course, Mr. Lodge was like, "Oh, they let you keep the sign." What a dick thing to say.
Really?
They're friends then.
Yeah, they're best friends.
I thought that was like a
They're
douche
muscle
move.
buddies.
I would, if I was
Muscle
Archie, I would have been like,
Yeah,
"Hey,
muscle
aren't you
buddy.
going to die
I know.
soon?"
We all know what a muscle buddy is. We all have muscle buddies because we're muscle buddies.
Yeah. Do you guys want to look at each other's muscles? Real
What
Yeah.
the fuck? All right, let's move on, please.
quick? I'd rather not.
I can't stop flexing.
Would you have sold our Andrews Construction if you were Archie?
Nope.
I mean,
No, you can't
I
do it.
guess not. What else? I mean, Archie, what does he want to do?
You can't do that to your dad. I mean, he already got snubbed by not being in the
He's a
Oscars in
teenager.
memoriam.
Oh.
You know, you
Okay.
can't sell off his business.
It is
I
crazy
mean,
they mentioned that in Riverdale.
Yeah. It was fucking bullshit.
He's always been more of a TV actor.
I don't care. He was in a movie
I mean,
that
I
was
agree
up
with
for
you.
an Oscar. He's been
I
in
agree with
movies.
you.
It would
I
have
agree
been.
with you.
Hey, don't get angry at us. Just because we edited together the Oscars in memoriam montage.
And chose the
Fucking
names
bullshit.
and purposefully left him out.
Right.
Just kidding.
Do you remember sitting in the back room and being like, let's
Yeah,
leave it back.
just delete. I mean, let me throw this out to you. My family business, where I'm from, is construction, and I didn't go into that business.
If it makes you feel better, my dad also wanted me to do a family business, which was insurance, and I had to tell him no.
Yeah.
Wow.
My family business, my father was a podcaster. And I was like, fuck you, Dad. Never going to be a podcaster.
You're podcasting.
Here I am.
Wow.
Here I
Someday he's gonna hang up a shingle that says Zalvin and Sons Podcasts.
Artisanal podcasts. I think he should have sold it.
You think he should have?
Yeah, I think Archie's legacy from Fred is how he comports himself in his life. Like that is the lesson that we have learned over and over this season. And ultimately, him failing out of school just to keep a construction business that's not really working anyway is not what Fred would want for him.
Yeah, I think that's 100% right.
I know when you say it like that, but it's just hard for him to sell it.
I get it.
because what it means to him.
I completely get it.
Okay.
I have a bunch of comics that aren't worth anything that I haven't sold. It's the same deal.
No, you can pass them on to your son, and they can be his albatross.
No,
Or your daughter. I mean, either one.
No, they're not. They're never going to get it. Remember, I'm barren.
You're going to be buried underneath a stack of comics, or more specifically, die when they fall in.
Oh, man.
Let's wrap up with Archie and talk about the big storyline, which is Jughead / Betty.
Yeah. So where we had them is Jughead was presenting his work to his mortal enemies, and of course his book features the characters Jarhead and Bison, which I was like,
Also, okay, that was crazy. I was like, Jarhead and Bison were ludicrous, but he says that Bison was his roommate, and he mentions what happened on Devil's Night.
Yeah.
So he even gave a fake night named Halloween, which is a holiday that exists in the world that you don't need to rename.
it was very funny. There was no reason.
I love the Street Fighter shout out by saying Bison.
You think it was M. Bison?
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, Moose Bison. That's what
Yeah.
M Bison stands for.
Yep.
It doesn't seem to be going well for Jughead.
Jarhead.
Jarhead. They keep Barhead. They keep changing tactics to screw over Jughead throughout this episode. DuPont very angry. They accuse Jughead of plagiarism. He needs to prove that he wrote his story that got him basically everything.
And Jughead finally realizes his laptop was stolen after his roommate got him a new laptop.
Yep.
Clearly, that was. So I'm glad that he finally realized he got his.
The best thieves buy you a new version of what they're stealing from.
Yeah. You never think it's them.
So he had the version of On Featherless Wings that he saved on his old laptop. It is gone, so he is being accused of plagiarism, which is the biggest crime that a writer can commit, which is true.
Yes.
So there you go. And he's going to go before the disciplinary committee on Friday, which happens to be the Ides of March, which they keep mentioning over
Definitely
and over.
lay
Yeah,
that
they
on.
dropped that a few too many times.
So Betty has a brilliant scheme. She's going to give a lie detector test to Jughead, which she does, which she passes, and then Donna's like, "This is stupid," and Betty's like, "We think it's stupid too. We're coming for you, and we're going to destroy
she
you."
specifically says the line, which I wrote down, is, "Do you think I don't know that, bitch?
Yeah.
This lie detector test is only the beginning."
I was like, "What is happening?"
down.
And that whole thing was crazy.
Yeah, that whole thing was just like, Betty, what are you doing? You're smarter than this. You're better than this. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what their plan was in this episode. I also, again, I know there was a lot to figure out here, and this is certainly jumping ahead, but, is the Baxter Brothers Foundation being like, we're going to get Jughead to come to school,
Yeah.
and then we're going to rewrite his novel and then kill him, and that's how we get novels?
Yeah.
That's very complicated. Just write a novel.
Yeah, it is a little convoluted. I mean, I'll give them the credit for the idea that maybe they had a plan where it's like, oh, his grandfather wrote these books. Maybe he's going to be good at it, so we don't have to do it. And then it's all been spinning. They can't control him, so it's spinning out of control.
There is the thing that Donna says later in the episode to Betty where she's like, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So it
And
does
I-
feel like
I feel that way.
Yes. There's definitely more reveals to come, but on the surface, it just is like, just hire a writer, man. There's a lot of writers out there.
lot of writers out there.
This is less complicated.
I have a great sample that I'm 1,200
1,200
pages.
pages?
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot.
Take some notes.
You
All right,
should.
can we talk about that?
What are you at? Are you up to 4 brothers now? Or?
Yeah, keep adding. That's what people want is more brothers.
Can we talk about that Donna Benny sit down?
If I had a note for you, it would be this novel doesn't have enough brothers.
Yeah. There are 17. Well, let's get there. I mean, everything is sort of just like some wild plot things. Betty and Jughead break into the dorm rooms. They find his book that says ready to print on it. Major clue.
Yes. In his book, it was the story he wrote about Jason Blossom that was a thinly veiled biography of what went on there that then they rewrote a little bit so that it would become their own novel.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened.
And they were like, yeah, we hired ghostwriters. The other high school students in your class.
Right, all 4 of them. This is where it also becomes complicated because, you could have read a fucking newspaper. All of this stuff. This was a public murder. Everything was probably well reported on. You didn't need Jughead to write any of this down.
Yes, but I think the idea here is that Jughead is a great writer, and they just changed a bunch of stuff so they could, own it.
Yeah, if he's such a great writer, how is he writing things from beyond the grave? That's what I want to know.
We'll get there at
We'll
the end.
get there.
Now, they touch on Donna chipping the tie pin here, and this whole thing is, obviously, not great. We've already talked about how it's a plot point that we think is fucked up and is not being dealt with appropriately, and we slide past it again here. Betty meets with Donna, and Donna is downright cocky about them not knowing what's going on.
Well, first off, let me just say that, the fact that Donna is not giving Betty anything is smart. And it pains me to see Betty being outsmarted by Donna.
That's what I'm saying. She also off her game.
And then Betty also just coming at this woman and being like, you weren't, it's just accusing her of things.
Well, but she hasn't done that.
Yeah, I disagree with this episode because the strategy that I think Betty was employing this episode, which was smart, which does get a little bit of the way to dealing with the issues we have with the storyline, is she is imploring to her without saying, stop lying about sexual assault, or I don't believe you about sexual assault. It's please.
Which is a horrible...
woman to woman.
Yeah.
Don't do this. Whatever you are doing, don't do it.
Yeah.
And to the point Justin made the last episode, we clearly do not know this whole story yet. So I'm still very hesitant to judge this storyline on face value, particularly when I think they are taking steps to rectify where they're going. So if at the end of the day this does turn out to be either of those bad ways that we've talked about, sure, throw the storyline in the gutter. But as it is right now, it's clear that it feels clear to me that they know this and know this is problematic, and there is actually a way out of it. But
that's what I'm hoping
could be
too.
wrong.
And I still trust in the show. that they're going to work it out. Especially when they're literally, the characters are saying in this episode, you don't know anything that's happening.
Yeah.
So
hopefully that's a ray of sunshine, but I just don't like the way Betty is. She's supposed to be a better character than this.
Well, I think we're going to see, like I feel like we are being, throughout this whole episode, especially as it gets toward the end, the information is being withheld, and we're going to find out what that means. To drive it forward to get to this last scene where we learn some pieces, Brett and Jughead, Jughead confronts Brett. Brett's like, "Hey, I got a tape of you having sex with Betty."
Yep.
And he's like, "It's gonna destroy. It's fine for you, but it's gonna destroy Betty." So Jughead.
What the fuck does that mean?
No, that's true though.
Wait, well, hold up a second. Why is Betty going to be destroyed by... First off, you taped somebody having consensual sex with their boyfriend. You should get in trouble for that. Why does Betty hurt more from that?
A publicly released sex tape of a woman, exactly how he says, will follow her for the rest of her life and unfairly hurt her in a misogynist society.
Well, yes.
That is real life.
But, don't you think if someone... Who's going to go online and be like, oh, my God,
So many people.
A million people.
Million people.
That's just awful.
And jobs. And if she ever tries to run
But
for
her dad's a black hood.
This just happened months ago with somebody. Was she a senator? A state senator?
Yeah, in, I want to say California.
Right.
I think she was a representative. I think she was in Congress.
It's revenge porn. And it happens all the time. This is... For better or for worse, what he is saying is 100% accurate. I do think in the span of the plot of the show, as Betty says, I can handle myself. Yeah. And she is right about that. But Jughead doesn't necessarily need to protect her in the span of the show, or at least he should have made that decision with her. But what Brett is saying is also correct.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt Jughead. It definitely will hurt Betty.
That's all.
Yeah, and that's what makes it especially nefarious. But I also think that it feels like Jughead, so he, in front of the tribunal, he says...
He bows out.
He bails. FP is legit mad at him.
Yeah.
He loses, they win, and...
Which is just such a weird thing for Jughead to just bow out.
Well, but I think he knows he's lost their game. So I think he's trying to shift it into his game, which involves... murder.
Wait, what? Your game is you're going to put on a mask and just stab somebody?
We don't know what the game is yet.
That's what we saw.
Because very specifically, all right, so let's talk about these scenes. I want to talk about this one in particular. So Betty's annoyed at Jughead. Brett and Donna say, hey, why don't you come to this Ides of March party anyway? Yeah. Bring all your friends. Jughead says yes.
Can you fall for this trap, guys, that we're setting?
Except they know it's a trap, and Jughead says he has a plan, but first he needs to take care of the sex tape. That's what he needs to do. He needs to take care of that, but he knows what to do. And that's the part that we're not seeing here. We also get a scene that killed me. Legit, I was chills. Was he says, I love you. She says, I love you too.
Yeah,
They kiss, and the Bughead theme comes up, and it's so clear he is saying goodbye to her.
Goodbye to her forever, because they're hanging on this I love you. And it's just, I'm like, why does this feel like this is it for them?
That's how they were playing it. Oh. That's how it played out. And clearly,
because she's going to date Archie now.
Fuck you. Well, because
I don't think she smashed his head with that rock.
Bro.
I don't think
it's too soon.
She didn't smash his head with a rock. She said, I'm interested in Archie, and he fell over.
He smashed himself with a rock.
Exactly.
He was like, well, no need for these brains anymore.
That dum-dum? I'll make myself as dumb as Archie.
We already know for the flash forward that Betty thinks Jughead is never going to come back, right? She has that conversation with Archie in Pops.
Yep. There's a hand.
So it's possible.
So come back means he's got to be alive to be able to come back.
100. Yes, he's 100% definitely alive. But now I'm beginning to wonder, based on the way that scene is played, if Betty still doesn't know what his plan is. If he has a plan, if he's figuring something out, but he's doing it on his own.
Which is not smart.
It does feel that way because, and again, it may be just the way they've shown what we were shown in this episode, because it's shot in a way that is it feels like everyone's operating in separate paths. Jughead, he puts on his serpent jacket. He looks like he's going in for his final battle. He wears this bunny mask. Which
Yes.
it seems like there's no reason for him to wear that.
Yep.
Unless it's, small theory coming up, FP in the serpent jacket is playing
You think
the
he's
bunny.
playing a shell game?
Some sort. There's no reason for him to wear
Yeah.
the mask because he later takes it off.
Right. Well, almost immediately. So let's talk-
Here's what I think it may be covering: the blood. So he fake bloods himself.
Interesting.
I'm just making this up right
Yeah,
now.
I don't know. It's a weird detail.
Yes.
There's, like you said, it happens so quickly. So let's talk about the party. We can kind of zip through it. It is this Ides of March party. It's Veronica says it's like Midsummer Night's Dream had a baby with Euphoria, which is a little over the top. It seems like a fun party.
It does seem like a fun party.
But maybe...
No, I think she was spot on.
Really? Euphoria? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
Also, Midsummer Night's Dream doesn't
Right,
really
it
make
seems
sense
like-
either.
No, in Midsummer's Night Dream, they have a lot of stuff in the forest. And
Yeah,
they're all
but
dressed
that's
up
like
like
the only thing.
Yeah, it seems like...
That's why she says it's a cross. Like, why are you so mad?
I'm
It's
not
part
mad.
of
She
it.
could have said it's like Watership Down or like
Midsummer's Night Dream, it seems like it. I mean, that's very
she
spot
could
on.
have said it's like Midsummer Night's Dream meets had a baby with Julius Caesar.
Yeah, she could have said it's like any story meets another story in the woods.
I don't know why you're so mad. I like the.
It's like
I
the
would
Princess
call-
Bride meets Something's Gotta Give.
Yeah, it's like Where the Wild Things Are meets another book, like Where the Wild Things Are.
Wow, you couldn't think of another book.
Name two books.
Yeah, just try.
Sorry, I'm an author. I'm writing right now.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, if you're listening to the show, by the way, we want you to hit us up at Riverdale Dark with the 2 Books Challenge. If you could name 2 books, tweet at us.
What do they win if they can name 2 books?
A third book. Good luck naming it.
The Riverdale Challenge. Name
It's
2
the
books.
2 Books
The 2
Challenge.
Books
All right,
Challenge.
so yeah, there's this party that
You
some
couldn't
people
even name
think
the right
is-
challenge, buddy. Name 2 challenges.
Name 2 challenges. So Veronica, as soon as she's there, Archie's like, Veronica, you need to calm down. You're acting crazy. And they get to this party, and she's like, you want to go fuck in the woods? And Archie's like, you're goddamn right I do.
Yeah. She actually is like, we haven't done that in a while.
I know. It's like, okay,
Yeah, fine.
great.
Great.
But who wants to walk all the way to the sex bunker? Get halfway down the path.
So yeah, so the,
Yeah,
then
they've
there's the
got to
thing,
be
like,
close to the sex bunker.
Woods are big.
There's a lot of business here where, like we were talking about, like Jughead enters, takes off his beanie, puts on the bunny mask, walks up to Brett. Brett tries to rile him up. Jughead doesn't answer, and he says, "You want to settle this? All right, not here." And then Jughead follows Brett into the woods. To your shell game thing, he
Takes
follows
off.
him to the woods. Jughead follows Brett. There's a slow-mo walk into the woods. They just miss Betty. And then once they're in the woods, Jughead puts the beanie back on.
Yeah.
So, like,
Takes the mask off and puts it
yeah, there's like...
And you don't see his face.
Right. There's
shadowed.
business with the bunny mask and the hat that implies something else is going on.
Yeah. I think it's definitely a shell game. I think, well, let's keep talking about what happens. Donna follows into the woods, then Betty follows Donna. Everyone is clearly going to watch Veronica and Archie
So
have
much
sex.
tension. Yes, but so much tension in this last sequence. I thought so well done. Like, just they built it through the silence and the low tones and the music and the lighting and everything. It is exactly what it needed to be because I knew we were leading up to Jughead's death. There is no place that I think Jughead is actually dead, but I was on the edge of my seat the entire time.
It was very well done. Betty confronts Donna. Donna turns the tables. Says she went to meet with Evelyn Evernever, where she learned the other magic word that puts her
lying.
into a fugue state.
She's
we don't
lying.
know. Well, I guess we'll see.
Mandarin.
Yeah, exactly. Another type of orange. Another type of orange.
Navel.
Grapefruit. Spicier.
Clementine.
I think I just won the Name 3 Oranges challenge.
Did you? I think you
I-
named one orange 3 times.
No, I said, we said...
Don't
We-
recap. Don't recap.
Yeah, let's do a quick orange recap. We hit.
Come on, keep moving forward. So Donna and
So we cut away from that.
Right.
After we don't know what the other magic word is. Veronica and Archie are walking out of the woods.
Right. They're all done boating.
just putting their clothes back on.
Yeah, they're a little like, whew, that was fun. They see the Stonewall squad together again. Bad guy style.
They just see Joan and Jonathan.
No, but then Brett and Donna join them.
Join
Right,
them.
but first, Joan and Jonathan are like, oh, they just went into the woods in that clearing.
Oh, right.
over
They're asked
there.
where they go. And after that line, though, Brett and Donna join them. So
Yeah, right.
whatever happened they have now returned to the party.
Right.
And then we get the scene that we've all anticipated. Veronica and Archie find Betty over Jughead. He's dead. We get the line from Jughead's narration. It started out like any other week. Who would have guessed that by Friday night, and then he stops talking, and then Archie said, he's dead.
Yeah.
Which I thought was also an odd way of doing that.
Yeah.
Also, it was really upsetting to me that Archie was like, Betty, what did you do?
Yeah.
She's standing there with blood on her hands and a rock.
Yeah, but what kind of friend just accuses somebody of murder like that?
A friend who is in love with their other friend. Back on.
Yeah,
Barchie. Barchie, high five. High five. Jughead's dead. Let's get it on. Come on. High five, Pete.
We got a real lane for Barchie now.
Yeah.
He's going to give you that. Keep holding your hand up. He's going to do it.
Yeah.
You look like a Hitler youth.
Well, when in Rome.
Wrong city. So a lot of things could have been happening here.
Wrong city.
Here's one weird theory. I feel like maybe this is that Brett and Donna may even be working with Betty and Jughead.
Really?
No.
I don't know.
Okay, here's what happened, okay? Jughead is just like like he took something, so his pulse is like low, so it looks like he's dead, okay? And maybe Betty is just kind of dazed because, either she was hypnotized or something, but she didn't do it. And she's just coming to with the blood on her hands or whatever. So, like, Jughead is straight up framed by the skull and quill bullshit assholes.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of things could be happening.
Yeah.
But what's this thing where you think
I'm not saying, it's odd to me that Brett and Donna walk back out and are gone. They're away
what
from...
What I took away from that is that Jughead has a plan. Maybe Archie's in on it. Maybe even Veronica's in on it.
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
you're going to trust Archie to not blow it?
Yeah, I would not do that.
That guy cannot keep a secret.
But I think Jughead has a plan, and I think Brett and Donna think they have completed their plan, but Jughead has a plan on top of that plan.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. That makes the most sense, and I do think there was some sort of switcheroo with Jughead, and I think FP makes sense.
Right, but why do it at that point?
It's odd.
Yeah.
It's odd, and it is a straight-up mystery. But I guess the other things we have to answer is Betty in the fugue state? Is that real?
Right.
Or not? Because I do think Jughead's plan could involve that. It could be about exposing what Donna knows and saving Betty from this Evelyn Ever Never and all that stuff where they're in her head.
That'd be great.
I do think there is going to be a larger hypnosis plot that is going, because we have all these other unanswered questions that we haven't even touched in many episodes.
Yeah.
The tapes, Chick,
Yeah,
and
the
John
door
Charles.
videos.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on, and there's a much larger plot. I do think it's going to eventually hit Mr. Honey and DuPont and what's going on at Stonewall, and it'll all be one thing, but we're so far away from that now. It's so micro on this Jughead's death thing that I don't know how we get it back out.
Yeah, I really don't know either. The biggest clue to me, for anybody who is worried that Jughead is dead, is that
He's narrating.
Well, he's narrating. That's a pretty big clue. The other big clue is that we don't see Betty hit him with a rock. Like, if he was actually dead, we would see Betty go into the fugue state and kill him, and that's where we would leave off.
Yes, I also think because so much of this episode specifically was about Jughead used the trauma and like tragedy and the stuff he's lived through as a novel, and he needs to write another novel, and this happens to him. That's it, and he's narrating like this is all one big novel.
Again, there are easier ways to write a novel.
This is just one giant novel. Instead of watching a TV show, we're watching a novel be made.
I just wrote a line in my novel that says, "Deet, this is all one novel. We're all living a big novel."
God, that's crazy.
The end.
Fade to
Hey, high
black.
five.
Yep.
High five.
All books end with fade
High
to
five.
black.
Come here. High five.
High
Pete.
five.
High five.
High
D.
five. High
No
five.
way.
D.
No way.
D.
What is going on?
Who's your MVP of the episode? Pete.
Veronica.
Wow.
Yeah, I will
Off
not.
the Betty train.
Yeah, I will not pick Betty until she is not,
Holy
till
shit, I
she's
think
being
Pete's in a
better
fugue
person.
state.
Veronica did a great job of getting her dad back on track. And also, I love the way that she was outsmarting people and being a badass.
Nice. Justin, what about you?
I'm going to give it to Archie. Like I said earlier, Archie...
I was going to say Archie right up until he accused Betty, and that made me mad.
Accused Betty...
Of murdering Jughead.
Well, that's exactly the kind of thing Archie would do. Archie is the only character in the show that I think is fully the same, on his same path. It was nice to see him just become the center of the story again, I think. And I'm excited to see
I just want you to know that if I ran up on the scene and your hands were bloody and somebody was dead, I would not accuse you, because
That is 100% not true.
No, that's...
You would shoot me dead.
I would not.
He's gone crazy.
There have been times when you've been reading the newspaper and you see an unsolved murder and you're like, oh, that's Justin.
I call them fun-solved murders.
Yeah. I was also going to choose Archie just because I really liked his storyline a lot. I feel like I've said this a bunch of episodes in a row, but I think what KJ Apa is doing is great. They've been giving him a lot more material to work with. They've been pivoting away from dumb Archie runs into situations and just messes stuff up. And it really feels like he is growing as a character, which is very cool to see.
Very cool.
If you'd like to support this podcast, patreon.com/Comic Book Club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. at the People's Improv Theater Loft in New York. Come on by. We will chat with you about Riverdale. Riverdale Dark on Twitter, as we mentioned. Definitely hit us up with that 2 books challenge there. Riverdale After on Instagram. Riverdale After Dark on Facebook. iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice to listen and subscribe. ComicBookClubLive.com for this podcast and more. And we'll see you after dark.
Sex in the Woods is my favorite donut.